More job openings just hit a 2-year high in America. On paper, that's great news. Companies are hiring, right? Wrong. In the same month those openings spiked, actual hiring fell. Companies posted hundreds of thousands of new jobs and then hired fewer people than the month before. That shouldn't be possible. If there are more open seats, more people should be sitting in them. But they're not. And once you notice that gap, you can't unsee it, because it means something you've been told your whole life isn't true anymore. A job listing doesn't mean a job. Here's why that matters to you, whether you are employed or not. If you're job hunting, it explains why you can apply to 200 postings and hear nothing back. Some of those jobs were never real in the first place. If you already have a job, it explains why you haven't gotten a raise that keeps up with prices, and why you're too scared to quit even though you hate it. Companies aren't firing people in waves, but they aren't creating real opportunity either. Economists have a name for this standoff: low hire, low fire. Nobody's getting pushed out. Nobody's getting let in. So here's the mystery at the centre of this story. If workers are frozen in place, and companies aren't expanding, and the economy is somehow still standing, who's actually benefiting from this? Because someone always benefits. To find the answer, we have to go past the headlines, past the monthly jobs report, and into the mechanics of a system most people never look at. The internal machinery that decides who gets hired, who gets held back, and who gets quietly erased from the workforce without ever losing their job. Along the way, we're going to answer some questions that don't have easy answers yet. Why would a company post a job it has no intention of filling? Why are young workers getting hit the hardest in a market where layoffs are historically low? What is artificial intelligence actually doing inside this equation? Creating jobs or making them disappear? And if the unemployment rate looks fine on the surface, why does it feel like everyone is stuck? Keep that last question in your head. We're going to come back to it, because the official numbers and the lived experience of millions of Americans are starting to tell two very different stories, and only one of them is being reported. Let's start with the number that broke the pattern. In April 2026, job openings jumped by more than 730,000 in a single month, climbing to 7.6 million, the highest level in nearly 2 years. Analysts called it a headline number that looks like a hiring boom on paper. But in that exact same month, hires didn't rise. They fell down by more than 400,000. Openings jumped to 7.6 million in April 2026, a surge of 731,000 from March, while hires fell to 5.1 million, down 419,000 the same month. Two lines that are supposed to move together had just split apart. And that split isn't random noise. Researchers have been tracking it for years. Back in 2019, roughly 8 out of every 10 job postings eventually turned into a hire. By 2024, that had fallen to about 4 out of 10. The hires per posting ratio has roughly halved since 2019, according to a Columbia Law Review analysis. Half the postings you see now are, statistically, ghosts. So why would a company advertise a job it has no urgency to fill? A posting costs almost nothing. It can sit there for months, collecting resumes, giving the appearance of growth to investors, and quietly building a database of candidates. A company can call up later, without ever having to admit the position isn't really open. The listing becomes a tool, not for hiring you, for managing perception. And the sector data makes the illusion even more obvious. Nearly all of that April surge came from one place. Professional and business services alone added 668,000 positions, while finance and insurance actually lost 135,000 jobs in the same month. So the boom wasn't a boom at all. It was one sector's number, dressed up as a national headline. That answers one question, but it opens a bigger one. If companies are gaming the openings number, are workers gaming the response to it? That's where the second half of the puzzle shows up. In a normal, healthy job market, workers with leverage quit. They chase raises, they jump to better offers. That churn is what economists call the quit rate. And right now, it's collapsed. The quits rate fell to just 1.9% in April 2026, one of the lowest readings in years, even as job openings were surging. That's the tell. In a genuinely hungry labour market, rising openings should be pulling workers out of their current jobs with better offers. Instead, workers are doing the opposite. They're staying exactly where they are. Why would people cling to jobs they don't even like? Because they don't trust what's on the other side. If the postings are half phantom, jumping ship for an opportunity that might not really exist is a terrifying bet. So instead, millions of employed Americans are trapped in place. Not laid off, not promoted, not raising their hand for anything. Just waiting. That waiting has a price. When workers stop competing for each other's jobs, wage growth stalls. Posted wage growth has slowed to roughly 2.3%, while inflation has been running hotter, near 3.8%. Every month that gap holds, paychecks buy a little less than they did the month before, even for people who never got fired, never got laid off, and did everything right. Here's the contradiction nobody wants to say out loud. A market with almost no layoffs is not automatically a safe market. It can be a frozen one, and frozen things don't feel stable from the inside. They feel like standing perfectly still while the ground quietly tilts beneath you. But if the people already inside the system are frozen, what happens to the people trying to get in? This is where the low-hire, low-fire economy stops being an abstract statistic and starts being personal. Because frozen doesn't mean equal. It has a hierarchy. Workers who already hold a job are, in a strange way, protected by this system. Nobody's rushing to replace them. But young people and new entrants to the workforce don't have that shield. They can't lean on a job they already have because they don't have one yet. They need new positions to open up. And new positions are exactly what's disappeared. Since labour demand peaked in April 2023, job openings and hiring rates have fallen almost everywhere in the country, while layoffs have stayed near historic lows. For workers already employed, that decline barely registers. For young adults trying to enter the workforce, it's the difference between finding a foothold and finding nothing at all. Their employment numbers have kept sliding while older workers' numbers have barely moved. Translation: this isn't a market that's equally hard for everyone. It's a market that's punishing the newest, most powerless people the hardest, while looking, on paper, like it's punishing no one. And there's a second group getting quietly squeezed: people who want full-time work and can't find it. The number of Americans stuck in part-time jobs while searching for full-time ones has climbed to its highest level in years. They're not counted as unemployed. They're not counted as a crisis. They're just invisible in the official number, working fewer hours than they need to survive. So who's doing this to whom? That's the wrong question. Nobody flipped a switch. This is what happens when multiple forces collide at once, and that collision is the part almost nobody explains. Three separate pressures are stacking on top of each other right now, and each one alone would slow hiring. Together, they're freezing it. First, the population itself is changing. More Americans are retiring, fewer babies are being born, and immigration, historically a major source of new workers, has sharply declined. That means the economy doesn't even need many new jobs each month just to keep unemployment stable. The bar for healthy has quietly gotten lower, without anyone announcing it. Second, tariffs and trade uncertainty have made it more expensive and more unpredictable for companies to expand, especially in goods-producing industries. When a business isn't sure what its costs will look like next quarter, hiring is the first thing it pauses. Third, and this is the one most people are watching wrong, artificial intelligence. It's not a simple story of robots taking jobs. AI is now mentioned in roughly 1 out of every 20 job postings, and software job listings that reference it are climbing fast. In some corners of the economy, AI is clearly creating new roles. But in the information sector, the layoff rate has doubled over the past year, and AI is a direct driver of that spike. It's not destroying the whole labour market. It's doing something quieter, hollowing out specific rungs of it, one sector at a time, while other sectors barely notice. Put those three forces together: a shrinking pipeline of new workers, cost pressure discouraging expansion, and AI reshaping which jobs even need a human. And you get exactly what we're living through. Not a crash, not a boom. A stalemate that benefits whoever can afford to simply wait it out. And that's the answer to the mystery we opened with. Nobody's winning this labour market in the traditional sense. What's winning is inertia itself, the advantage quietly shifting toward whoever already has capital, already has a job, or already has leverage, while everyone trying to move up, move in, or move on gets stuck absorbing the cost of everyone else's caution. The job market isn't broken in the way a recession breaks it. There's no dramatic collapse, no headline crash you can point to. It's stuck quietly, structurally, and in a way that rewards standing still. And that's exactly why it's so hard to see. A crisis with a graph that spikes downward gets attention. A crisis that just flatlines month after month doesn't. It just becomes normal. Until you're the one applying to 200 phantom listings, wondering why nothing ever calls back. Thanks for watching. If this helped you see the numbers behind your own job search a little differently, subscribe and pass it along to a friend who's stuck in the same waiting room. Until next time.